Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Today is the 26th of August, year of our Lord 2024. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, aka Moton No. I got a big show for you guys today. Starting off your week right with an hour of the Coping Hour. Hey, the episode, by the time you're watching this, is in the can. Did we do the full hour? Did it all stay in the show, and did we do the full hour? This August 26th, this lovely Monday? Well, I guess let's find out. Boy, I gotta let you guys know something up top. I am playing hurt today. I'm playing hurt. If at any point there's like a slight like wince in my voice, and there's like you're like, is he about to start crying? He was just talking about Jalen Brunson. What's going on? I was watching Georgia Tech play Florida State in Dublin this weekend, and I think I've talked about this before. When I watch a football game, I'm that type of dude where I'm cradling a football the entire time, right? In between plays, I'm pacing around, like holding the football. After somebody, does like a little check down, a little 3-yard check down, the little RPO dump off. I will always do the throwing motion immediately after. Like I will hold the foot, you know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? I will do it mechanically, like what they're doing. When we go to commercial, I'm like up and I'm doing like 3-step dropbacks and shit like that. So the problem was I did not do preseason this year. Obviously in college football, there's not a preseason, but I mean physically I did not do preseason. So I just jumped right up into game speed with me walking around, holding the football, throwing it around, pretending to throw it around while I'm watching a football game. I'm setting all of this up just to say I either pulled a muscle or pinched a nerve in my back while I was pretending to throw a football while I was watching this game. And I exacerbated the injury today by trying to ride a bike. And maybe we'll talk about that story maybe at the end of today's program. But I am in pain, and so I need to not move that much because I don't know. And now the problem is I can't even physically pick up my son without not being able to breathe and like completely freezing and locking in place. And this isn't the first time that this happened. I just have, I have back issues. Honest to God, it's the one thing about Ben Simmons that I am empathetic to about him as just a guy is the back injuries that he deals with, because that is no joke at all. Back injuries, like I just said, you can't breathe depending on what the extent of it is. You have no range of motion. You are just kind of stuck in one spot. So whatever. All right, just no excuses. We're still doing the show today. We're still going to leave it all in, and we're going to do the full hour. But I am playing hurt, and I did feel like I needed to. Okay, and then the only other thing up top, I wanted to give a very quick shout-out to Drew Cole, and I believe the last one was Ben, for sending in some lovely photos of the merchandise that they are getting in. I'll throw them up on screen for all of you. And I believe Vince was the one from the other day who did not send us any pictures. But that's okay, Vince. I sincerely appreciate all of this from you guys. I guess the early returns are everything is just exactly what you think it would be, which honest to God is the best thing that I could possibly hear. And what I mean by that is like the mug is like, yeah, it's just a mug. When you get it in the mail, you'll be like, oh yeah, this is just a mug. Great. Oh, you got a t-shirt in the mail? Oh, it's just like a standard Gildan t-shirt. I want nothing more than that. That's perfect. I was concerned that it was all going to suck, to be honest with you guys. And then the other piece of it, is that I'm just happy that the images have all printed, it seems like, pretty nicely onto each respective piece of, whatever it is. So, thecopinghour.com is where you can go get your hands on some of your lovely Coping Hour merch. The link will be available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program. Once again, thank you so much to all of you who have been sending in your reviews. It means a lot to me, and I'm very, very happy that this is working because there certainly was a world where it didn't. The only one that I'm worried about at this point, because I'm like, okay, everything should be fine. The only one that I'm worried about now is the Hoopanon crew neck. I'm a little worried about. I don't know how that one's going to print because of what I did to the actual text in the PNG file and how it might translate into print. So I don't know. We'll see. But folks, what are we going to talk about today? Well, in the spirit of the show, the one thing we care about more than anything here at the Coping Hour are narratives. I could give a damn about... I'm like playing with something on the desk. I apologize if that's picking up on the mic. Why don't I just not do that anymore? A lot of the time, I could give a damn about what actually happens in the game, no matter the sport. I usually just want to know, how are we going to talk about this person or this thing or this team for the next week, or at least until there's another game? you know. And I don't shy from that because it's just the media machine, man. It's just fun. It's just fun to talk. So, okay, so what's the gimmick today? What are we going to be doing? I wanted to do the top 5, not top 5. Well, I guess I did do 5 of them. Most consequential championships of the last 20 years in the NBA. And what I mean by the most consequential is narratively how we looked at, and it'll all stem from like one individual player, you know, taking their team and not surmounting the mountain, climbing the mountain. Nope. Summiting the mountain. One player summiting the mountain. Who are the top 5 most consequential guys to have done that in the last 20 years? Now, I did try to actually do a little bit of research for this one because in the last couple of episodes, I've just had too many dumb moments, like some that bother me a lot. Like I said 2 episodes ago, Tim Howard, how is he doing these PL morning shows? One day he's in West Ham, and then the next day he's in Chelsea? What is it, a 20-minute drive? I don't know, from stadium to stadium. I don't know. They're in the same city. I didn't clock that as I was saying it. And then the one from the last episode, which all of you unwell actually bitches came out of the woodworks to let me know. I did fumble on the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander comment that I made. We were doing a segment on players that we believe could spend the rest of their career with one team. The one-teamers, the lifers. How many of those exist in the NBA today? We spent about 15 seconds kicking Shai Gilgeous-Alexander around. My reasoning was like, hey, he's pretty low-key and reserved, and usually those are the dudes that stick around. Yeah, whoops. Rookie mistake, no pun intended, on my end. Yeah. It's funny, the irony is that not only did he play for the Clippers, but we had also given Paul George his flowers like 20 minutes earlier. So, whoops, I didn't clock that one. And I'm only bringing this up just to say I tried on this list to not fuck it up and to not be stupid. So I'm... Brothers and sisters, let's figure out how we did. I don't know if there's any more setup that I need to do for this. Let's just jump right into it. Number 5, the most consequential championship of the last 25 years. Well, the 5th most. Now, I cheated here. I did just say the Detroit Pistons in 2004. This is the only team or the only championship that I will be accrediting to just an entire team and not focusing on an individual. And it may seem like the homer cooking up some bullshit here. You know, me putting Detroit on this list. It's really not that crazy because the one thing that's been consistent about the Pistons in their franchise's history is any time that they've won a championship, which has been 3 times, it has been in the middle of an NBA glamour party where you go back to when the bad boys were winning rings, and we're coming right off of the tail of the Lakers and the Celtics dominating. Shout out to the Sixers for getting one, sliding one in there. I tell you what, if you try to, off the top of your head, reverse engineer all the NBA champions in order, it's like pretty easy until you get to the 80s, because then you're like, okay, I know this is either the Celtics or the Lakers, but it's just like, which one? And then it's like, bop, there's a fucking Sixers jump scare in the early 80s, 82, 83, where the Sixers got one, and that's the one that always tripped me up. It's the one that always got me, but also just the whole back and forth between the Lakers and the Celtics thing. But anyways, so the Pistons interrupted that, right? And as Larry and Magic are kind of on their way out, James Worthy, was it the foul that they called on? Was it Rodman that quote unquote fouled? Who was it that James Worthy? Who was it that committed that foul, that phantom foul? Or was it John Sally? I don't remember who it was. Kareem, all those dudes on their way out. And then it was also the Detroit Pistons that birthed Michael Jordan and the run that he went on. But in the middle of all of that, I believe the phrasing in the Bad Boys documentary was, for 2 brief shining years, the Detroit Pistons interrupted the NBA's glamour party. And then you fast forward. Now we're post-Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan dynasty run. They've won all 6. Well, by the time they won their last one in 1998, the next 5 years were either the Lakers or the Spurs. Until when? 2004, when it was almost the damn Lakers again, had they not just been at that point disheveled and Karl Malone's shameless ass trying to shoehorn his way into a finals run. Absolutely not. Not on Detroit's watch. And I think, at the risk of sounding corny, it's easy for me to say what I'm about to say when it's my favorite team that has been the one to do this 3 separate times. It does kind of give you that sense of, oh, so anybody can do this. And by the way, there is another one on this list that, well, we'll maybe unpack that a little bit later. And so anybody can do this. Because you look at those teams, the 04 team specifically, there wasn't anything overly exceptional about them other than the way that they played defense. But I mean individually, they didn't have the superstars. They had a bunch of outcasts and guys that teams were kind of like, yeah, like, I don't know. But it was all about energy and it was all about defense with those guys. Because I cannot say that about the bad boys. Isaiah is a bona fide, I'm not going to say that word because I don't know what it means. Isaiah Thomas is a Hall of Famer. Bill Laimbeer, Hall of Famer. Dennis Rodman, the microwave, John Sally, Joe Dumars, those were dudes. And it's not to say that the going to work guys at 04 weren't, but you know what I mean? There were levels to it. A championship team, no less. Shout out to Mr. Big Shot. The first jersey I ever had, it was either Rip or Ben. I don't remember which one. I think we had like all of them in some form. Like over the years, we kind of just ended up getting all. We never got Tayshaun. I can say that confidently. We never had a Tayshaun Prince jersey. And let me tell you something about the 04 team. Really, really trying to think. The last time a contending team made one of those push our chips in the middle at the trade deadline, we are going for it. Stamp it. We want to win a championship, and we need to go get this guy in order to do it. They went and got Rashid, and it actually worked. Because you see it every single year, these contenders make the big deal. And I swear to God, for like 6 years, that big deal was always Robert Covington. Teams were always like, if we can just trade for Robert Covington at the deadline, we will win a championship. And then for no team ever did that happen. Fucking ever. But it did work for Detroit. Damn it. By the way, this is also the same year. It's not really worth bringing this up, but narratively, this is part of it, and this is important. This was Darko's rookie year. Now, the reason I say I don't want to bring this up is because, as a Pistons fan, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this conversation. I do not want to keep talking about, well, what if they drafted Carmelo? What if they drafted Chris Bosh? How many more championships could they have won? Well, they probably wouldn't have traded for Rashid, and it's just a whole different thing. They might not have won any of them. You know what I mean? It becomes a completely different team. The dynamics on this team are now completely different. And I think as Pistons fans, we can look back and be like, do you know how hard it is to win once? To win once? We did that shit and we drafted Darko Milicic. You know what I mean? If that's what it took for us to do the Rashid trade and then to eventually win a championship was drafting Darko Milicic instead of Carmelo or Chris Bosh or whoever, that's fine. Sealed and signed. She's not my lover like Billie Jean, but the kid is mine. That's fine. I don't care about that at all. Shout out to Darko, though, doing, what is he now? Everybody always, that's the other thing people always talk about. Oh, did you know Darko Milicic actually like a potato farmer? He's farming something, radishes? Is there anything else I have on the 04 Pistons? Shout out to them. First game I ever went to was 06, maybe 06. I think so. We got to sit on the floor for warm-ups because my brother had gone to like a Pistons basketball camp and they were like, you can sit on the floor for warm-ups, like when they're doing shoot around, and you can come out to half court, take a nice picture, family picture, which we do still have. And to this day, I don't know what player it was. We were playing the Hornets at the time. They were the New Orleans Hornets. And one of the players was like chopping it up with us. And to this day, I don't know who it would have been. It was a white guy. And I've never actually looked back at the rosters because I just don't know even what year it was. But to this, like, I can see his face, and it was Joe Ingles. But looking back, obviously, it wasn't Joe Ingles. So, okay, whatever. We're going to say the 2004 Detroit Pistons, narratively, were the 5th most consequential champions of the last 20 years. So let's move on to number 4. This one might be low, but let me tell you, there's some hard hitters up at the top. Coming in at number 4, LeBron James, the Cleveland Cavaliers, 2016, coming back from a 3-1 deficit. Objectively the most iconic NBA Finals of the last quarter century. And I think when you look back at all of these all-time greats, you know, they always have that signature finals. They always have that signature moment inside of that series. Think about a guy like Magic Johnson. You think, what was it, the 1980 finals when he was playing all 5 positions? You think about Michael against the Jazz, and you think about LeBron James. And there's another one in there, but he's on the list, and I don't want to tip my own picks here, so we'll save that one for later. And then you think of LeBron James in 2016. Now, some people might think, so the Ray Allen shot would have been 12 or 13. Some people might think of that, but there's an interesting question. More iconic. Well, that's apples and oranges. I can't do that. I was going to say more iconic between Ray Allen's shot and LeBron's block. I guess it's in a vacuum if you just phrase it that way. It's not apples and oranges. Really think about it, because both of them are referenced culturally kind of the same amount. No? Am I crazy? I don't know. What do I think objectively is more iconic? The block, and it's not close. But I'm just talking about it from like a referential standpoint. What do you think is more? I'll let you guys decide down in the comments. I'm going to say it's definitely the block. But okay, so we have the block. It's not even just the block. The Golden State Warriors are 73-9. They just came back from down 3-1, by the way, the previous series against Oklahoma City. This series that I believe either birthed Game 6 Clay or like solidified it. I don't remember which one it was, but I believe it was the former. Where he just, it's one thing when I sit up here and I just talk about like, man, player X just destroyed. They just dominated. You've never seen anything like this in your life. If the ball left their hands, it was going to rip the net. But that was Clay that night. As dominant as Steph may have been against France in the gold medal game, what Clay was putting up in that Oklahoma City game was unparalleled. For a team that had its backs against the wall for 3 straight games. Essentially 7 straight games. Insane. And isn't it crazy, man, that I was just thinking about this the other day. We aren't that far removed from LeBron going to 8 straight finals. I feel like we don't, and I paused right there because I wanted that to sit with you. 8 straight finals, and I just feel like a lot of us are just kind of like, yeah, like that's cool. Because there's a half take, there's a sub take in this list here on the LeBron, is that I don't know. This is coming to me. Sorry, this is half baked. I'm just trying to figure out, get my take detector out, figure out if this is actually something or not. If LeBron won a ring next year, the Lakers somehow do it, right? They piece together the nice little roster. They make a championship run, and LeBron's got 5 of them. He's won 2 with the Lakers. Is that the least consequential championship of all time in terms of legacy and narratives? Which is what we're doing here, by the way. Because that's not going to change anybody's mind about anything. Even the people like me who are like pro LeBron to a fault, I'm just going to be like, yeah, like that's what he does. And at this advanced age, like maybe there's that piece of it in there too. But I just don't think that would matter at all. So LeBron winning, and I'm selling this short because it is kind of one of those series that Nick, if you're going to do the segment, do the segment. It also was the first time that we got to see Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, and LeBron James actually play together in the finals, because the year before, when the first year that the band got together, Kevin Love in the first round got his shoulder separated by Kelly Olynyk in like the craziest wrestling move I've ever seen. That was an all-time, I hate Kelly Olynyk for the rest of his career because of that play. And then he signed with Detroit, and I was like, first of all, he kind of rules. And second of all, what an awesome guy. Honestly, he's just a really, really nice guy. Although, what ended up happening with Kelly Olynyk in Detroit? Did we trade him? It was something like he bought a house and then got dealt. Whoops. So, okay, and then game 1 of the 2015 finals that Kyrie like broke his kneecap, like cracked his kneecap? Huh? Like what? And then LeBron by the end of that series is wearing no. That was 2018. 2018 was the finals where LeBron went berserk, and then after game 1, once JR forgot the score, we were like, fuck, that was their chance. It was over. But LeBron goes for 50. By the end of the series, he shows up at the post-game press conference with like a soft cast on his hand. Oh my God. Here we go. And he's like, yeah, man, I've actually been playing with a broken hand this whole series. And then who was it? It must have been Richard Jefferson. Like a couple years later, I don't think it was Richard Jefferson. Someone will correct me. But the story was told on a podcast that he wasn't lying, actually. That I think it was during game 1, he smashed a whiteboard and it fucked up his hand. And then so he's just playing hurt the rest of the series. Wow. So this is not even about 2016 that I'm talking about. But just as a dude who, for the better part of a decade, had a two-house... fuck. God, I was on a roll there. That was gonna be such a... He had a 2-floor townhouse on NBA Finals Island. And I just feel like we don't talk about that enough anymore. Well, Nick, what do you want people to say about it? That it ruled? How about that? That it was awesome. Although I don't know if it did, because this is where I get in the weeds and fight myself on this take. Because I do not like to tell people how they feel about things, but people who think that it would be fun for there to be... I'm not saying that there shouldn't be rivalries in the NBA, but people have kind of done this retrospective on the Warriors and Cavs run that they went on, going back and forth, playing each other. It was not really back and forth. Cleveland had one shot. No, that's not true. Dude, you're like trying to do too many takes right now, and you need to figure out which one you want to do. Because once I start mixing them up, that's when I start to say the wrong thing, and then I get confused with myself, and I start to cross wires. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to leave it at that. We're going to say LeBron James winning the championship for the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2016 was the 4th most consequential, legacy-defining championship of the last 25 years. Have I been saying 20 or 25? I think I keep bouncing around on that one. Whatever. Number 3, the 3rd most consequential. Dirk for Dallas in 2011, right? And this is what I was talking about earlier when it was, well, no, there's another one on this list too. When I was like, well, anybody can do it, because the history here with Dirk is fascinating. So the year that they win the championship, they killed Portland in 6. They beat the Lakers. The Mavericks beat the Lakers in 4, and then in the Western Conference Finals, they took out KD and Russell Westbrook in 5 games. This is the series where people still talk about the fact that Jason Terry was like the boogeyman to LeBron. Look at this roster. How crazy is this? The 2011 Dallas Mavericks winning a championship over it was the first year of the Heatles, too, by the way. So it was like they were facing the boogeyman. I can't keep saying boogeyman. Here's the roster. J.J. Barea, Corey Brewer, Caron Butler, Tyson Chandler, Brendan Haywood, Jason Kidd, Ian Mahimi, Sean Marion, The Matrix. You guys want a scoop about Sean Marion? You want an actual coping hour scoop? Sean Marion is blonde now. There you go. Steve Novak, Dirk, Peja Stojakovic. Holy shit, Peja was on that team? That's insane. And then of course, the aforementioned Jason Terry. Now, and the other part of this is, so Dirk loses in 2006, and he gets murdered for it. And then he gets murdered even harder the next season. Was it the next season or was it 2 seasons later? That they're the 1 seed and they lose to the We Believe Warriors. They got swept. Did they get swept? I don't think that's true. I have it written down somewhere here. I don't think that's true that they got swept. Hold on. Beep, boop, boop. We're going to stay. It all stays in the show. Oh, fuck. This note-taking is so cluttered, brother. Yeah, they lost in 6. So they did not get swept. They lost in 6. Dirk averaged, gee whiz, brother. He averaged 19 and 11 on 38-21. 38 and 21. Ugh. So they lose in the first round. And he still wins MVP, so they have to, how did they do it? They, just did a different, instead of him doing the ceremony in front of all of the Dallas Mavericks fans, he just kind of, did it in, a room. And they were like, it was awkward. And he got killed for that, man. He got crushed for that. I talk about Game 6 Clay. Dirk was a killer. He was a killer. And that's another guy that it's really easy to forget. And, by the way, when we talk about lifers in the NBA, glaring omission of Dirk Nowitzki on that list, by the way, so shame on me. And, well, let's hold everybody accountable here, because to be fair to myself, nobody in the comments mentioned it either, so we were all collectively wrong on that one. Let's all put a hand up. Sorry, Dirk. Our bad. But okay, so they get to 2011, and we talked a little bit about, the path that they had, and this sort of validation, I think that it gives a guy like Dirk, because even if there wasn't necessarily a glamour party, I don't know. Let's unpack that. So by 2011, the most recent NBA champions had been the Lakers twice, the Celtics once, the Spurs a handful of times, twice, because they won in 2007, Heat in 2006, Spurs in 2005. Fuck it. Let's do what I was going to say earlier. Okay, I'm derailing the segment. So 2024 was the Boston Celtics. 2023 was the Denver Nuggets. 2022 was the Golden State Warriors. 21 Milwaukee. 20 Los Angeles Lakers. As if the Clippers have ever fucking won anything. Respect, though. Where was I? 19 Raptors. 18 Warriors. 17 Warriors. 16 Cavs. 15 Warriors, 14 Spurs, 13 Heat. Is this bad podcasting? I'm sorry. What did I say? Was I 13 Heat, 12 Heat, 11 Mavs, 10 Lakers, 9 Lakers, 8 Celtics, 7 Spurs, 6 Heat, 5 Spurs, 4 Pistons. And then it was, did they do 2 or was it 3? So, 03, shoot. The Spurs and the Lakers are going to confuse me here. I think it was... Well, it had to have been Lakers 03, Lakers 02, Lakers 0... This is bad podcasting. I need to move off of this. So Dirk wins a championship. Whoa, impressed. And then how did he do in the actual championship run? Well, he averaged 27 and 8 on 48, 46, 94. There's that killer that we knew all along. There's that killer. When I was watching the Olympics, both during 3v3 and during the actual men's games, Dirk and like Tony Parker were just like sitting next to each other, like on some casual vibes, just kind of hanging out, just chopping it up, but like not shit talking each other. Like they were just kind of enjoying the atmosphere in the game, and like it actually looked like it kind of ruled. And I think that Dirk is definitely going to be... So, I'm sorry. So, the reason that I brought up and derailed the segment was because I was trying to get to the bottom of... Was there a glamour party happening in the NBA? And did Dirk disrupt that? Kind of. I mean, kind of. We were off of the heels of 2 straight Laker championships. The one before that was the Celtics, which was sort of the first domino to fall in this big 3 era that we would later come to know just a few years later. And it wasn't just that Dirk won a championship. Again, it was that he beat the Heatles. He beat the first-year LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh team, respected Norris Cole and Mario Chalmers, although I don't actually believe they weren't there yet. They both... No, they couldn't have been. They got drafted. Norris Cole got drafted. This part of it doesn't matter literally at all. Yes, I think Dirk did. Because then the Heat rattle off 2... And then, sure, the Spurs sneak one in there, but then it's Golden State. And then stuck right in the middle of there was Dirk and the Dallas Mavericks. So, yeah, narratively, man, it matters. Let's move on to number 2. The second most consequential championship, narratively, of the last 25 years. Steph Curry winning in 2022 for Golden State. I think... In the grand scheme of things, it's really easy for us, you and me, right now, to recognize who Steph is. And the same thing goes for LeBron, too. Just in terms of somebody else who's on this list who is still playing. We're living through it right now. You and I can turn on an NBA game during the regular season. If we want to watch LeBron and we want to watch Steph, we're able to do that. We have the agency to do that. 5 years from now, we will not. 10 years from now, we will not. Let's unpack 10 years from now, when there's a new generation of kids consuming and tweeting about the game, right? Going to all these message boards saying like Kirk Huck, like what the fuck? Like who is that? Like, yo, he stinks. Like, oh, I could have hit a bunch of threes if I had David Lee setting illegal screens for me for 5 years. Like, yeah, I guess. Did David Lee and Steph have 5 years of overlap? I don't know if they had that many years, but they had enough years, right? People will do revisionist stuff. The same way that you and I say stuff about Jordan, right? I didn't live through it. All the dudes that I didn't live through, I give a fuck about them. I don't care. I could, their stats aren't real. You know what I mean? And so you want to get in the weeds about dudes who got mythologized in a way that is like, maybe I'm late to this, I don't know. Wilt? We think of him as this dude who just like walked around and like scored 50 points all the time. What finals was it that Bill Russell ended up being like, I hate you because he like Wilt got mad at his coach and like checked himself out of a game? I should call Jacob, aka Rusty. I'm not going to call him. It's too late at night. Something about that shit. I just derailed myself. Well, actually, you think about Steph as a guy who's kind of is Steph mythologized or will he be mythologized? Yeah, I think so. But there's always this like, well, you know, I think it was Bill actually that made a point about this a couple of months ago. It'll be easy for people if they really want to poke holes in the Steph Curry thing. Oh, okay, like he won in 2015. Like, that was cool. But like, Kyrie and Kevin Love were hurt. And then like, oh, he won 2 more after that? Yeah, but he had Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? And then after that, what happened? And then after that, where did Golden State go? And so if people really wanted to do that, they could. And then when 2022 comes around and they have spent a couple of years kind of like retooling on the fly and, you know, plug and play and just getting new guys in the building and seeing what can work, while also using guys like Jordan Poole to their advantage, right? And even Andrew Wiggins kind of having like a hell, if you want to, can we maybe put as like a sub, as like a 2A, 2B, Andrew Wiggins? Like, how about the fact that he kind of got a little bit of a bump? Now, I don't know if he's kind of already smoked that and people have already kind of been, although didn't something happen with him this last year? I don't want to dog on him too much. But that was a big deal for him because a guy like Andrew Wiggins pretty much cast aside as soon as he got into the league, he hadn't even played a game yet. Before Andrew Wiggins even played a summer league game, we were talking about him getting traded to the Timberwolves. And then what happened? At this point, probably about 10 years ago, right now, if not a little bit earlier, but Andrew Wiggins did end up getting traded to the Timberwolves in exchange for Kevin Love. Steph winning that ring against a Celtics team that I don't remember who was the favorite in that series, but it felt like, not that, damn, like he did it on his own. No, I don't mean that at all. But it's like, come on, help me out. You at home, talk to me. Like, what is it that I'm trying to say here? It gave us a feeling of like, is reassurance the word I'm looking for? Steph winning that ring against the Celtics in 2022? Reassurance maybe that he really is that guy, isn't he? You know, and you don't have to be this towering 6'8", 250, put a shoulder down. You don't have to be this Swiss Army knife. You just have to have the best hand-eye coordination and the best reflexes and the best muscle memory and the ability to shoot a basketball from 35 feet better than anybody else ever can. That's all you have to do. And you, too, can win 4 NBA championships just like Wardell, Stephen Curry. So I think it was the second most consequential championship narratively of all time. Now we get to number one. Not to spoil it. We're here. Like, how am I supposed to spoil it? I was here for this, kind of, technically. We're going to go Giannis Antetokounmpo, winning it for Milwaukee in 2021. You know, I said the thing in the beginning about Detroit being like, oh, some bullshit, you know, Homer juice that I'm sipping on. It might as well be the same thing putting Giannis on here with the Milwaukee Bucks, with how much fun I have watching them and you know, the place in my heart that he and the city, the franchise will always have, because we were boots on the ground, folks. If you don't know, if you haven't seen this and you haven't heard about this, we were on the ground. We did man on the street in Milwaukee the night that the Bucks won a championship. We were there. We were in not the deer zone. Shit. What is it called? What's the thing called? Here I am talking out of my ass at the beginning of this episode. Oh, I was a little more well-researched for this one. To be fair, I didn't know I was going to start talking about the deer zone. It's not Bucktown. It's a place here. It's a little neighborhood here. I don't remember what it's called. But we had a blast. So let's actually talk about what this meant, though. Well, when I said about Dirk at the beginning and the Pistons at the beginning, it's like, oh, so anybody can do this. Anybody can draft like a generational talent. It's not always just the big guys. And those talented players can not only win with their original teams, but teams in smaller markets. And we were able to see that you don't have to give in to the pressures of the media and sometimes the pressures of the player and just ship them out. Like we talked about in the last episode, anytime Giannis has expressed even a fraction of dissatisfaction in Milwaukee, they go and get Drew Holiday or they go and get Damian Lillard. And they go give him something fresh and new and shiny that he can be like, oh, throw me this lob, Drew. It'll be the most iconic lob in the history of basketball. Or like, oh, that's a really nice lob you caught there, DeAndre Ayton. What if I just had the second most iconic block and the third, second most, Tayshaun was the other one I was thinking of. That wasn't the NBA Finals. Second most iconic block in the history of the NBA Finals. Don't mind if I do. I'm Giannis Antetokounmpo. Just felt like a big deal. Felt like a really big deal. And honestly, man, who did they go through? Oh, that's right. Wow. Talk about bearing the lead. Here I am talking about all these other teams and like the path that they went on to actually get to the finals. And so the first round of the playoffs, did they beat Miami? They would have beaten Miami that year. Yeah, they would have. And then the second round would have been, was it Brooklyn or was it Atlanta? It was Brooklyn. And that was Katie's foot on the line. Oh, my God. Oh, Katie's foot was on the line. Oh, my God. Is there a different segment in there, an impromptu segment of like things like that? Not the what if isms. Is that what that is? I'm asking too many fucking questions today, man. I just need to do the segment. But they win that series that they had no business winning. If I can liken it to anything, it would be when the same way that people hear this, boom, found it. When people say, oh, if Zaza didn't kill Kawhi Leonard and, have that really aggressive closeout and Kawhi gets hurt and he misses the rest of the series, Golden State's championship run is over. It's hashtag over. Even if they're right, it didn't happen. So it didn't happen, though. It's kind of the same thing there. But we start this series and James Harden is out of it. He's gone 45 seconds in. If it was even that, his hamstring just completely gives out on him because those have been sort of on their last legs. Well, I guess he's fine now. So felt like they were on their last legs for a while there, though. And then later on, we were at the game that Kyrie got hurt in, and then it's just the Kevin Durant show, man. And you look back at some of those highlights, and you look back at even his younger days at Oklahoma City. Jesus, brother. We look at Kevin Durant as one of the bigger buckets ever. Like a dude who... Have you guys seen the clips where it's like, it doesn't matter where he is. If you give Kevin Durant a ball and a hoop, he will get a shot off. It's just like in his blood. That's just like who he is as a dude. It's so transparent when you just watch like a 10-minute supercut of nothing but dribble moves and getting to his spots and just ripping the net, man. It's just, I don't know even if Steph is the player that matters the most to me ever, I just don't know if there's ever been a dude who I watched score like Kevin Durant. And like, it just like gives me a feeling, man. Cause if it's LeBron is the most dominant that I've ever seen. In my life, I've never seen a player be able to will his team to 8 straight NBA Finals, or to anything for that matter, the way that LeBron James can do, and by the way, can still do at a very high level. We just saw it in the Olympics. So nobody's been more dominant than him, but nobody's been more electric than Steph in my career, and nobody's been as... Is efficient the word I want to use here for KD? In their own regards, all of them, man, are just very profound of me to say, sure. But all of them just will always... and it's going to suck, man. It's going to suck a lot. What I was saying about Steph earlier, it's really, really going to suck the day that people... Because they already do it with LeBron, and like, that's whatever. That's just par for the course. But when they really, really start to do it with Steph and KD, it's going to bum me out. Although they've been doing it... They've been doing it with KD, but I just mean when people actually real life don't know. So I've kind of strayed from the point here, but Giannis, it would have been really easy for him to be a dude who was mega talented and could win, a handful of MVPs, make all of these all defensive teams, all these all NBA honors, all these all-star teams. But he kind of just never won a ring. And there's like a subsection of those guys throughout NBA history. They're all great. The Reggie Millers of the world, the Charles Barkleys of the world. They exist and they're excellent, but they don't have championships. And they were never able to do that for their team. And another guy who Giannis did not interrupt a glamour party because we're in the middle now of 6 straight NBA champions, like unique NBA champions. There's been no repeats for the last 6 years. Milwaukee was third in that. So they didn't really, they helped, continue to usher in this new age of parity, which is just awesome, which is just great. I love that every single year it's just 2 completely different teams, and sure, not everybody has a real life chance, but anybody has a chance. And damn it, Giannis and the Bucks showed us that. I think it will go down as 10 years from now when we're kind of hashing it out. Remember when Giannis actually got it done for Milwaukee? I don't know if there's been a ring in my life that I've enjoyed more, and that I was more whoa, So Boston wins the championship, and we do the thing on this show where we say the person's name, and then we follow it with NBA champion, just to see how it feels. Jason Tatum, NBA champion. When it's actually real, how does that feel? And for Giannis and the Bucks, top to bottom, I just don't know if it could have happened to a better group of dudes. Mike Budenholzer included, by the way. The guy who will get lost in the pages of history because he wouldn't stop putting Brook Lopez in drop coverage against Brooklyn, which was just kind of his thing, man, was being stubborn. That was Mike Budenholzer's thing. He was like, no, this is what we're going to do. And it got him a ring. And then Adrian Griffin shows up, and I don't know. We don't need to rehash this, but I don't know. That's where I'm at, folks. Let's redo the list. Coming in at number 5 was just Detroit in 2004. Then we had LeBron and the Cavs in 2016. Number 3 was Dirk and Dallas in 2011. Number 2 was Steph in Golden State in 2022. And number 1 was Giannis winning it for Milwaukee in 2021. And that's going to do it for that segment, Legacy Talk. Hey, a very, very half-baked segment that I've been working on for 2 days now. I just don't have enough juice for it. I can't. The gears aren't spinning. I'm gonna pass this one off to you guys, but I do want to. Let's take a second to talk about it. Get your brain out of basketball mode. This has nothing to do with sports. You go to the grocery store. You go anywhere in the world, and you just think to yourself, sure, inflation is a thing, and sure, me individually, I live in a major city, so just through virtue of that, things will be more expensive for sure. But we've lived here for 5 years now. So I know what prices can look like, and I know what they shouldn't look like. And right now, a lot of them look like how they shouldn't look. So I was trying to throw together a segment that was stuff that needs a market correction. Stuff that has just gotten too expensive that nobody's talking about, and I don't know how we're supposed to reel it in. Because gas, it's well, I know how to make gas cheaper. But it's not true. I really had to think about that. I was how do you make gas cheaper? I don't fucking know. So, okay, let's just jump right into it. Beef jerky. It's too expensive. It's been too expensive for a decade now. Now, if you've been listening to not just this show, but any programming that I have ever done ever, at some point throughout every single year, I will bring up the fact that beef jerky is simply too expensive. I will, honest to God, vote for anybody. For the President of the United States, on the strength of them having a campaign promise that beef jerky, Jack Link's will be a normal size bag, not the little baby bags, but a normal size bag, $5. If you make it cheaper than that, I will stuff the ballot box and I will make dead people vote for you. This issue matters to me. So, okay, so what's another one? Bowling. Bowling has gotten too expensive. And I don't know how it is for some of you guys. I didn't know that this was a way that you can do bowling until we moved here to Chicago. Because I thought you just showed up and they're like, do you want to bowl one frame? That's a game, right? One game? You You want to bowl? All right, that's X amount of money. But here you pay by like the hour. So technically you can just like go as much as you want. The problem is it can be like $100 for an hour. You're like, what the fuck? Huh? Like, what's going on? That's not even like it's kind of a big city thing, but it's also like, and part of why I brought this up was because of, it's a long story, but somebody else has showed me something in like a smaller, like rural part of Michigan. It's like $60 and it was 30 minutes that they wanted to bowl. What is going on with bowling? I'm serious, folks. Go check out your local bowling alley and get back to me on that one. Out of control. And then this is the one that I might chalk up to living in a major city. Cereal. It's like $10 a box. $8, $9, $10 a box. That's insane. That's ludicrous. Another one is eggs. You know, you spend $8 on eggs. I could get a case of Coors Light for $8. What? Like, what do you... So eggs and beer are the same amount of money. It's the same picture.jpg. Oh, okay. That's all I had, though. Stuff that needs a market correction. It could be groceries. It could be like everyday things. And don't say like Ticketmaster, like tickets to concerts. No, actually, you should say that. That's a fucking great one. That's a really, really good one. And wasn't that part of Biden's like late push? Nah, it wasn't that long. Or actually, rather, it was kind of a long time ago that they're like, we're eliminating a bunch of random fees from Ticketmaster. But if you go on Ticketmaster and you try to do anything, you still spend like quadruple the money that the face value of the ticket was. I digress. So, folks, let me know. Let me know down in the comments. Hey, I was watching a little bit of Premier League this weekend. Leicester, a devastating loss to Fulham. My question is, why does Jamie Vardy have to come out? And him being 37 years old is not a real answer. Why does he have to come out ever? Because it makes me not want to watch, honestly. I don't know if there's a player in the... You guys call it... I just call it the Premier League, so I guess I can't call it the league. That I trust more than Jamie Vardy. If he's mad at somebody, I'm mad at them too. Because whatever they did was probably wrong. And that happens a lot. Like, he'll try to, like, draw the attention away from... Like, he'll, like, draw two defenders away, but then when the guy with the ball doesn't do the right thing or pass the right guy, whatever it was, Jamie just gets really pissed at them. And I'm like, yeah, honestly, me too, Jamie. What the fuck, man? That was bullshit. Whatever just happened that you're mad about, I 100% agree with you. And then he gets subbed out, and I'm like, it's the 70th minute. I'm like, okay, so we lost, so I should just turn this off. Hey, one of you actually asked this the other day, and maybe it is interesting to talk about this for some of you. I have no idea. One thing I've learned... I don't know if this is an inherently American thing, but this is certainly the case with everybody that I've ever known in my life. And most of those people, if not all of them, have been American. At least, you know, personally, one-on-one. IRL. Lineage isn't really a thing. Like, you know, I went my whole life being like, yeah, we're German because our last name is German. That's it. But we didn't really know. And everybody's fucking German. Everybody's German. So, okay. But other than that, it's like nobody really knows anything. It was like a real big deal for me when we got to learn anything about our lineage. And the fact that, the reason that I'm bringing this up is because somebody was like, why do you root for Leicester? I think a lot of people probably assume I just saw them win the PL in, was it 2016? And it was like, oh, that's the trendy pick. Oh, this is like the team that stinks, but like, it would be like if somebody jumped in and was like, I'm a Browns fan now. Like, this is what I do. Or a Lions fan, had we not. If we weren't awesome now, which we are. We are. The Lions are awesome. But, okay, so, yeah, I always knew my great-grandmother was English. I always kind of knew that. And I knew that the reason that I cared so much about the Royals was because she did and my grandma did. And it was something for us to talk about. And now I still care about them. A little bit less, but it's one of those things where they're kind of like my Kardashians, you know, one of those guilty pleasure things where I'm just like, ooh, what are the Royals up to? Ooh, what's Kate up to? That's why I get so damn defensive. I don't even like Kate Middleton, but that's why I get so defensive over, rather past tense, when people were like, oh, she's probably dead or she's probably getting cheated on and kicked out of the family. And then she's like, no, I actually just have cancer. That's why I haven't been in the spotlight for a while. Seems pretty reasonable that she wanted some medical privacy there. But anyways, yeah, I just learned that she was from Leicester. and that she immigrated here. I told the guy the other day in the early 20s. I think that's when it was. Maybe it was a little bit earlier than that. But I found her in the Ellis Islands database. And yeah, hopped on a boat that departed from Liverpool. Came over here by herself, I think. I'll have to verify with my pop and grandma on that one. I think she might have come over here by herself, and then had my pop, and then he met my grandma, and then had my dad, and then he had me. So what does that make me? A third generation immigrant? Is that what that makes me? Yeah, I think so. But it has always I've always wondered if I ever visited, which one day we will. I've communicated with the lovely Madison Rose on several occasions, and she's accepting of this, that when we do finally go to Europe, we can't go anywhere before we go to England, because I really want to know if I'm going to have like a spiritual moment. Like if it's going to be cathartic for me to like subconsciously know that like there's a universe where I'm here. I mean, technically, if you want to do the whole like, oh, but then you would never actually be born. Like, sure. But you know what I mean? Like if this is where I'm from in some sense, like this is my heritage. I just wonder if that'll kind of give me that, because it's something that we just are so detached from, is like where we came from, right? The world is older than you. The world will keep spinning when you are gone. You exist in this moment, in this part of the timeline. And it's fascinating to know what came before you, very literally before you as an individual. It's one thing to be like, wow, Stonehenge, those are some pretty cool rocks. Got nothing to do with me, though. Maybe it did, though. I don't know. So that's what sucked when we went down to Puerto Rico and we're like touring this castle. We're just like walking around, reading all these plaques. And they're like, yeah, so this is where sometimes the soldiers would get to take their kids and they'd have a little school. They'd have a little bit of class. And then you go to the next room and they're like, this is the cafeteria. Wow. And this is where everybody slept. And oh, look at all these nice bunks. And then you go like one room and they're like, this is where the English killed all of the Puerto Ricans. This is where the English and the Danish murdered and raped thousands of women. And you're like, what the fuck? And so she's like jabbing me. She's like, that's you. She's like, that's your fault. She's like, you did this. She's like, you think that's one of your ancestors? Get the fuck out of here. We're on vacation. Don't do this to me right now. Yeah, that's why I root for Leicester. That's all I wanted to say. Hey, what do you guys say we close out today's show with some more emotional stuff and some more serious stuff? Because I just had a tough day. And it was so tough that I kind of was just like, I thought about making another community post and being like, I'm not going to record today. We're actually not going to do another episode. I thought about taking the whole week off, and I still might. I'm keeping that in my back pocket before the regular season. Well, shit, brother, I can't do that because the NFL is about to come back. That'll give us some stuff to talk about. It'll suck for those of you out there who don't care about American football. And I, my condolences to you guys, but we got to fill an hour. And I spend all year talking about the dog days of August. It's the only time I will ever gripe as a guy who does content. Because otherwise, this is a nonsense job, and I'm happy with it. I realized that it could be a lot harder. I was watching got a YouTube short earlier of some dudes working on an oil rig, and just like the energy that they had to like exert to like move all this heavy machinery around. And I was like, brother, I still don't know how to use a lawnmower. So anyways, shit, what was I saying? Damn, I was on a roll. Well, I was just having a bad day today. And so I don't know, man. I've been really trying hard to not let my moods affect everybody else, because I wear my emotions on my sleeve and I refused to hide them. And that's a problem. It's one thing to be honest and vocal about your issues, but it's like, I won't even be vocal about it. I'll just make sure everybody is aware that I'm in a bad mood, and then it just kind of affects everybody else. And it just kind of hit me a little bit ago. It's like, brother, you just can't get away with that for that much longer, because eventually gonna fuck. I'm not supposed to say. I'll just bleep that out. Doesn't matter. I said my son's name, and I don't want to say his name yet. One day we'll get there, but still a little wary of some of you fuckers out there. I don't know, but one day in the not so distant future, he will be old enough to pick up on those emotions. And I already fake smile at him all the time because I understand how important that is, even when I'm in a shitty mood. Like, I just need to put it on for him, But it's different when my mood will affect her just because I'm being rotten. Like, I'm just being, not like mean, I'm just being like mopey and like annoying. Which is unintentional, but it just happens. Because when I'm upset, I'm just upset. And just figuring out how to harness that. Maybe channel it into a different avenue. Just have like a healthier, or just an outlet at all. Just an outlet at all. Because sometimes I don't know. I think this is good for me to say stuff out loud. But I don't think it's the best thing in the world that literally all of the problems that I have are said into this microphone, directly into this camera, and they exist in perpetuity on the internet. Forever. In perpetuity forever. But, I don't think that's the healthiest thing in the world. But at the same time, I read your guys' emails. I read what some of you say to me, the very, very intimate shit that some of you say to me. And it's hard for me to recognize that this show could mean something to some of you, like in a very meaningful way. Like, this is your Mondays and Fridays, the hour that you spend listening to the show, like, holds legitimate emotional weight to some of you out there. Again, I'm reading these emails. And so it's moments like this where I'm like, no, dude, you need to get this out, or whatever it is that you're feeling at the time, because there is somebody out there who it may resonate with. And if that person doesn't feel like they're dealing with that thing by themselves, I'm dusting my hands. All right. It was a good hour. We left it all in the show, and we did the full hour. So, folks, I hope you all have a great week. Let's all try to stay positive. Be kind to yourself. Order some... Oh, shit, I didn't read a single email. Is there any in here that I want to read really quick? There's this one from Sam. Sam's the one who sent in... Sam, I'm not gonna do the email. But Sam was the one who sent in the email about players, who could be lifers with one team. But then, as he put it, my email decided to take a day off. But they came back and they fired off another email. copinghoursubs@gmail. I knew there was something I was forgetting, and it was the fact that I had not said the email once in this episode. copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program. Sam, welcome back to the show. Subject line, NBA, NFL counterparts. Since the NFL is starting in a short time from now, I was wondering what NBA teams remind you of NFL teams. For instance, Lakers thinking they'll win year after year could compare to the Cowboys, and so on. Whichever teams come to mind, a fun mental exercise, perhaps. It is, but it feels too much, Sam, like when the guy called into Mike Francesa's show and was like, hey, Mike, first time, long time. Do you ever think that the San Francisco Giants and the New York Giants have dinner together when they hang out? And Mike's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, just because they're both the Giants. It's kind of the same thing it's kind of the same vibe that I'm getting here. Even if the example that you used between the Lakers and the Cowboys, not all emails are created equally. This one is funnier than it is a good segment, Sam. So I appreciated this. I'll entertain it for a second for you here, though. Lakers, Cowboys is a good one. If we had to do the Browns, but like the conventional Browns, can't say the Lions anymore. By the way, won 2 damn playoff games last year. Didn't see the Browns doing that, so the Browns are still the Browns. And they're employing Deshaun Watson. Gave him, at the time that he signed the contract, the most amount of money that any player has ever signed for in the history of the NFL. So yes, the Browns are still the Browns. Probably the Wizards? Or is it the Pistons? No. It would be the Wizards because there's no historical precedent for success. Right? And there is in Detroit. We talked about it in this episode for like 10 fucking minutes. Have you ever seen somebody do 10 minutes on all of the Wizards championships that they've won? The same way that I haven't seen people do it about the Cleveland Browns. And Sam, there's the segment that you were looking for. We got there, brother. I hope you have a good week, Sam. I hope everybody else does too. Thank you all so much for the support that you've been showing me. recently. I'm not even talking about the merch. I'm just talking about like as a man, like as a dude. Thank you. If you're listening to this on Spotify, be sure to rate 5 stars. If you are listening to this, can you leave a review? Some of your guys' comments I still can't, not some of them, all of them I still can't see on there. I don't know where you're leaving them. I don't know where I'm supposed to see them. I just approve all of them. If you are listening to this on YouTube, watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe. Nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control in check. And I will catch you guys in the next one.